So welcome to the second lecture of our fresh topic, that is physical work environment. And in series with that, in the previous lecture we covered about the physics of the light. So today we will discuss about, since this has been covered in the previous lecture, and today we will cover this visibility and lighting system possible. So the visual environment, as this is a very clear sentence or information that about 80% of the information input to the human brain comes from the visual stimuli. So in that context we have discussed about the physics of the light, and we just as a summary and of the past information that we gathered in the previous lecture. So this luminous flux, we understood about the luminous intensity and how this point source of light helps in making some of the calculations of illuminance and luminance, and this formula is very much important in order to calculate the illuminance and luminance of a particular source. So if a particular light is incident or at some angle, so this cos theta component included in the equation, and in this way, so the luminous intensity is has been figured out with the help of the formula given in the previous slide. So there are various typical reflected values, reflectance values that has been measured with several objects. So some of the objects that are very important in as far as optical study is concerned. So the mirrored glass reflectance is 0.80 to 90, white matte paint is having this 0.75 to 0.90, aluminum paint is having 0.660 to 0.70. So in this way these objects are having some of its reflectance value, and as well as some colors. So when we use some paint colors on the wall, so even if the color is white, so the reflectance is 0.85. if it is green, it is 0.65, it is medium blue or dark blue. So these are the values. You can take it from here if some calculation need to be carried out while calculating and while estimating the reflectance value of the particular surface that has been coated with some color, or if it is some coated with some material. So now we will try to understand what this visibility is all about. Basically this visibility, it refers to the relative possibility of being seen under the prevailing conditions of lighting, distance and related aspects. So in this particular lecture we will try to cover the important factors that affect visibility and visual performance. So basically there are various recommended illumination levels. We can know that so before that we will understand that what this particular visibility is all about. So this is the this visibility refers to the relative possibility of being seen under prevailing conditions of light, distance and related factors, and most important factor is level of illumination. Other factors including visual angle, and this particular formula we developed and we understood in the previous class when we were talking about the different human senses in cognitive ergonomic part. So in that we calculated this alpha v equals to 3438 h upon d. So this particular visual angle, in a summary, it is defined as the angle subtended at the eye by the smallest distinguishable detail. As far as brightness is concerned, brightness contrast, so relative luminance between object and background, and the other factor is also color. So as far as recommended illumination level is concerned, So the most important factor for good visibility is the amount of light shining on the object. So that is the level of illumination in the working area. So basically this recommended illumination levels have been developed by Illuminating Engineering Society of North America. So some of these recommendations have been adopted for our analysis also. So I am giving you some of the values through which we can predict the recommended interior illumination levels for some work situations. So there are various categories through which we can predict the corresponding illumination level and the areas and activities. So some of the areas and activities, and this is the, here we will put the illumination level. So like public areas, with dark surroundings, so illumination level is around 35, it is expressed in lux. When general lighting is required, when general lighting in area is required, so it is around 75 illumination level is there. When where let's say visual task are performed, and that is too occasionally, so 150 illumination level is required. Where very special like where one more category we can define here, so where very prolonged and exacting visual tasks are performed, so this particular illumination keep on increasing depending on the visual task, with the low contrast or high contrast is performed. So like when very prolonged over extended period, the visual task means the task which is including which can be done in the visual environment. So those tasks are visual tasks. So visual tasks are performed. So here around 7500 illumination level is required, and there are various categories. So just a few categories I am defining here, like where very spatial visual task involving very low contrast and small objects are performed. So the illumination level is very high. So there are several categories and possible recommended illumination level of various areas and activities. So as your requirement is bit higher and stress on the eye is large, and where you are dealing with the small objects, so the illumination level must be higher. So now basically there are other factors affecting visibility and visual performance also. So those factors are how much angle you are subtending towards a particular object, that is your visual angle, and second is the brightness and contrast. That is also considering one of the main factors, affecting visibility and its visual performance. And the other thing is like color. So here you can see that the color sensitivity of the human eye. So if we discuss about the color, because the intensity of the color or the type of color is also factor which is affecting the our visual performance. So the color is normally characterized by its hue. So which is the attribute of the of a color that allows it to be classified as a red, green or blue, or something intermediate between any pair of these primary colors. So these red, green, blue are the primary colors which we know as a basic knowledge. So hue is determined by primarily by the dominant wavelength of the light waves emitting by an object. So this basically color and hue are synonyms. So the human eye is more sensitive to certain colors than to others. So as you can see from this particular figure, that is showing the color sensitivity of a human eye. So you can see that as the wavelength is increasing, and if it is from let's say 400, this 400 to 700 range is of visible light, which is the only wavelength range which a particular human can capture or can visualize. So this 400 to 700 nanometer. So as the wavelength is increasing, the relative sensitivity is becoming higher, and at certain this particular sensitivity goes on decreasing when at a certain value of the wavelength, and beyond the certain value of wavelength it goes on decreasing. So this color sensitivity can sometimes be exploited in the design of tasks requiring visual performance. So you can see from this figure and develop understanding towards the color sensitivity which a particular human does have. Apart from the color, there are other attributes which are brightness and strength. So as far as this brightness is concerned, it indicates the extent to which color reflects illuminance. So this basically brightness indicates the extent to which the color reflects illuminance. Light colors reflect more light than dark colors, as it is clear, and this fact can be used to establish the desired level of contrast between objects in the workplace. Basically, the brightness of an object refers to its luminescence, so which depends on the amount of light. So amount of light illuminating it and reflectance of its surface. As far as strength of the color is concerned, so it indicates how it is positioned on a scale between pale and vivid. So the question will be coming in your mind that what is pale and what is vivid. So this pale means lack of the color, and this vivid means intense and striking. So I hope you have understood with this pale and vivid. So pale means the weakest of the wavelength of light, so that can be this pale means lack of color, and which can be like whitish color or pale yellow, and whereas as far as vivid color is concerned, or intense, which is intense and striking, so the example of that color can be red. So now the color can be used to enhance the ambience of the, or can enhance the condition of the environment and comfort level of the workplace as well. That is why this comes as a major component in the in explaining the ergonomic environment. So as well as to create an perfect or suitable ergonomic system, so the proper coloration is required, and as well as its strength and brightness is also one of the key factor for making a ergonomically perfect environment. So those certain colors are associated with certain common meanings, like in workplace or in any industry or in any traffic signal, generally a color signifies some meaning. So the significance of those colors you can identify, like red, the meaning of that particular color is mostly taken as a danger sign or stop sign in like to stop traffic light and traffic signal, and it is also used for fire alarm box or emergency stop buttons, which you can find in your surrounding as well. This yellow is also having some meaning, so it means caution. Another color that is frequently used in various places, this particular green means safety, or to proceed, it is used to proceed for in traffic signals, or in traffic, to proceed traffic, the green signal is used to be given. Apart from clear this color, there is opposite situation where that situation can be named as glare. So it is basically it is defined as a harsh and uncomfortably bright light in the field of vision. The bright light may be a source of light or a reflected light from an object. So there are basically three levels of glare, so that I am going to illustrate here in fact. So we will try to know what that glare is. So there are basically three levels of glare. The first kind of distinguished level is discomfort glare. The second is disability glare. And the third is blinding glare. So what the meaning of these three distinguished glare are, like in discomfort glare, observer is annoyed but not necessarily inhibited from performing a visual task. In this disability glare, what it happens that observer is annoyed and visual performance is reduced. And in that discomfort, what we just know that in discomfort glare the observer is not necessarily inhibited from performing a given task. In the blinding glare, it is the kind of glare in which this glare is temporarily blinding to the observer. So in this, the glare is temporarily blinding to observer. So there are several categories through which this glare is defined. So it is just for the knowledge, and what kind of these glares are defined in certain places, because these are the situations where in workplaces where you face these kind of situations. So these are the, in a nutshell, the factors affecting visual performance and this visibility as well. So before that, there is a fact for you that do you know that Leonardo da Vinci is credited with writing the first kind of resume. There is a one book in which its resume has been written, that what kind of achievement he has occupied in his whole life tenure. So if you were an interior designer, which type of luminaries would you choose to have for a mechanical workshop? There is a graffiti for you, and just read and enjoy. That's all for now. Thank you.